Most people meet Claude the way you'd meet a vending machine. You put a question in, you take an answer out. If the answer is wrong, you blame the machine. If the answer is right, you walk away. This is not how to meet Claude. Claude is not a vending machine. Claude isn't a search engine either. Claude isn't a calculator, isn't a database, isn't a magic 8-ball. Claude is something genuinely new, and the people who get the most out of it are the people who have taken 20 minutes to actually meet the thing they're working with. This is that 20 minutes. By the end, you'll understand 7 concepts that explain almost everything about how Claude behaves. None of them are technical. All of them are things you can use tomorrow. The posture you walk away with is the one you'd have if you were getting to know a sharp new colleague. Curious, patient, aware that the colleague has strengths and limits and willing to learn both. That's the episode. Meeting Claude. If you're new to the channel, this is the right place to start. By the end of this video, you'll have a working model of what Claude is. You'll know why Claude does some of the surprising things it does. You'll stop being afraid of the things that aren't actually scary, and you'll get sharper about the things that genuinely deserve caution. The rest of the channel goes deeper. This one is the meeting. Before the 7 concepts. 1 sentence on how to hold the rest of this episode. You're going to learn things about Claude that work the same way they would for a person. You're going to learn things that don't work like a person at all. Both kinds of facts matter. The trap most people fall into is they treat Claude as if it works one consistent way, when actually it works one way in some respects and a completely different way in others. The 7 concepts that follow are picked because they are the 7 places this distinction matters most. Get these right, and 90% of confusion about Claude dissolves. Concept 1. The context window. The most useful single distinction in the entire episode. Claude has 2 kinds of memory, and they are completely different. The first is what Claude learned during training. Decades of human writing. Every public book and article and forum post Claude was shown. Vast, fixed, always there. The second is the context window. This is Claude's working memory in your current conversation. Everything you've said in this chat. Everything Claude has said back. That's it. The context window is small compared to training, and it resets when you close the conversation. Tomorrow's Claude does not remember today's chat unless you bring the chat back yourself. People conflate these 2 memories all the time. They paste in a document, ask Claude to remember it, come back next week, and are surprised Claude doesn't know what they're talking about. Claude was never going to remember. The document was in working memory, not in training. Working memory is gone. Practical move. If something matters across sessions, you write it down outside Claude and paste it back in next time. The context window is brilliant for the conversation you're having. It is not a filing system for the conversations you'll have later. Concept 2. The training cutoff. The reason Claude can be confidently wrong about the date. Claude was trained on text that existed up to a particular date. Everything Claude knows about the world stops at that date. Events after the cutoff did not happen as far as Claude is concerned, unless someone tells Claude they happened. This is why Claude can be amazing about historical events and weirdly stupid about whether a particular company still exists. The historical event is in training. The recent company news is not. Same Claude, 2 completely different states of knowledge depending on whether the thing you're asking about happened before or after the cutoff. Practical move. For anything where recency matters, treat Claude like a colleague who's been on a long expedition and just got back. They are sharp. They know a lot. They missed the last year of news. Tell them what's happened and then ask the question. Concept 3. Tokens. Why Claude can be strangely bad at counting letters in words. Claude does not read text the way you read text. Claude reads in chunks called tokens. A token is usually a common word or part of a word or a punctuation mark. The word strawberry is one token. The word anti-disestablishmentarianism is several tokens, broken up at common boundaries Claude was trained to recognize. This is why Claude can fluently discuss a poem, but fumble if you ask how many letter R's are in strawberry. The letters are not what Claude is processing. The tokens are. Practical move. Don't ask Claude to do character-level work. Don't ask Claude to count letters, generate exact letter patterns, or solve word puzzles that depend on individual character positions. Do ask Claude for conceptual work, structural work, anything that operates at the word and sentence and idea level. That's the level Claude actually works at. Concept 4. Hallucination. Confident wrongness as a default mode. This is the concept that scares people the most, and it shouldn't once you understand what's actually happening. Claude is built to produce fluent continuations. Given any input, Claude generates the most plausible next thing. Most of the time, the most plausible next thing is also the most accurate next thing, because Claude has seen enough writing to know what's true about most topics. But when the right answer isn't in Claude's training, or is genuinely uncertain, or is specific in a way Claude can't pin down, the system still has to produce something. So it produces the most fluent-sounding, plausible answer it can, which is sometimes wrong. Claude is not lying. Claude is not malfunctioning. Claude is doing exactly what Claude is built to do, which is generate fluent text. The fluent text happens to sometimes be wrong. Practical move. Every specific fact Claude gives you is a draft, not a citation. If accuracy matters, verify. If it's a specific number, a specific date, a specific person, a specific quote, treat it as a hypothesis and check. Most of the time it'll be right. Some of the time it won't. And that's the time you need to have caught. Concept 5. The two layers shaping what Claude does. Claude has trained behavior. That's everything Claude learned from all the text it was trained on, plus the values and patterns Anthropic taught it during training. This layer is stable. It's why Claude tends to be helpful, why Claude pushes back on harmful requests, why Claude writes in a particular register. Claude also has instructed behavior. That's whatever has been told to Claude in the current session. A system prompt set by the platform you're using, a custom instruction you've configured, the way you've been talking to Claude in this conversation. This layer is fluid. It can be reshaped turn by turn. When Claude does something surprising, the question to ask is which layer is doing the work. If Claude refuses a request, is it training or instruction? If Claude is being more terse than usual, is it training or instruction? Often the answer is instruction, which means you can change it. Practical move. If you don't like something Claude is doing, try naming it directly. You're being too formal. You're hedging too much. Stop asking 3 questions when 1 would do. The instructed layer responds to direct feedback. The trained layer doesn't. Knowing which is which saves you from arguing with the wrong layer. Concept 6. The features built on top to extend Claude beyond a single conversation. Out of the box, Claude has no memory between chats. Each conversation starts fresh, but platforms have built features on top of the basic model to change this. Memory features let Claude remember things you've told it across conversations. Projects features let you collect documents and instructions in one place that Claude can reference across multiple chats. These are not core to what Claude is. They are scaffolding around the core. They work well for what they're for. They are not a substitute for understanding the underlying mechanic, which is that Claude itself starts each conversation with a blank context window. Practical move. If you're using a memory or projects feature, learn what it actually stores and what it doesn't. Memory in most products holds short summaries, not full conversations. Projects in most products give Claude access to documents, not to past chat history. Knowing the actual shape of the feature lets you use it well. Assuming it works the way a human would remember will lead to disappointment. Concept 7. What Claude can do versus what Claude can reach. Out of the box, Claude can only do one thing: generate text. That's it. Claude cannot search the web, send an email, run code, look at your calendar, edit a file, or do anything that touches the world outside the conversation. Tools change this. A tool is a specific capability handed to Claude in a specific session. Web search is a tool. Code execution is a tool. Calendar access is a tool. File editing is a tool. When you're using a Claude product that has any of these, Claude has been given those tools and can use them. When you're using a Claude product that hasn't been given tools, Claude can only generate text. The confusing part is that Claude often sounds like it could do things it can't. Claude can describe how to send an email in detail in the voice of someone sending it, but Claude cannot actually send the email unless a tool exists. Practical move. When you're not sure whether Claude can do something, ask, "What tools do you have available right now?" Claude will tell you. The answer might be just text. The answer might be a list of capabilities you didn't realize were on the table. Knowing what tools are present is most of knowing what kind of help Claude can actually give you. Claude isn't magic. Claude isn't a machine. It's a particular kind of colleague, and the better you know it, the better the work gets. 3 common fears about Claude that dissolve once you understand the 7 concepts above. Fear 1. Claude is going to remember everything I tell it forever and somehow use it against me. Wrong shape. Claude doesn't remember between conversations by default. Memory features store summaries, not full chats. The thing you said in last Tuesday's conversation about your boss is gone unless you told a memory feature to keep it. Fear 2. Claude is going to lie to me. Wrong frame. Claude isn't capable of lying in the way a person is, because Claude doesn't have intentions in that sense. Claude can be confidently wrong, which feels like lying, but the fix is verification, not suspicion. Fear 3. Claude is going to replace human judgment in things that matter. Wrong premise. Claude is good at synthesis, translation, structure, voice matching, second drafts. Claude is not good at counting. Exact specifics, novelty from nothing, or knowing whether a particular thing is true in the world today. The places human judgment matters are mostly the places Claude isn't strong anyway. The places Claude is strong are mostly places where having a good first draft saves you hours, and you do the judgment work on the draft. Here is the posture I'd want you to leave this episode with. Treat Claude the way you'd treat a sharp colleague who just joined the team. You'd ask them what they know. You'd find out what they're good at. You'd notice when they're guessing versus when they're confident. You'd build trust over real work, not over claims. You'd be patient when they got something wrong, and you'd be specific about what kind of help you actually wanted. You would not treat them as a magic oracle, and you would not treat them as a broken machine. You would treat them as a colleague, someone you're getting to know, someone whose strengths you'd point your work toward, and whose limits you'd respect. That posture is most of the game. Everything else on this channel is just refining the relationship. If this is your first video on the channel, here is what I'd recommend next. If you want to deepen the model you just built, watch The Grain of Claude. That episode names what Claude does naturally well and where you'll hit friction. It's the next layer down from this one. If you want to start using Claude better tonight, watch 5 cues to stop Claude inventing things, or 5 ways to riff with Claude. Both teach specific moves you can use in the next conversation you have. If you want a specific pastable prompt for something you're trying to do, look at the Claude 4 series. Each episode is a single task with the exact prompt. The channel goes deep. This episode is the door. Meet Claude the way you'd meet a sharp new colleague. Curious, patient, aware of strengths, aware of limits, willing to learn both. Welcome to the channel. That's the episode. See you in the next one.